Sit down closer to me, Taurus, because the air around you is heavy with a kind of electricity that you have likely not felt in years, and I need you to listen to the silence that has settled over the world today, on this 27th day of November, because it is not an empty silence, but rather the kind of deep and pregnant pause that comes right before a massive dam finally breaks and releases the water that has been held back for far too long. We are navigating the aftermath of yesterday's peak alignment, but do not be mistaken in thinking the moment has passed, because for you, specifically as a creature of the earth element, this energy is only just now beginning to seep into the soil of your life, where the real roots of your existence are buried and waiting for nourishment. Yesterday, on the 26th, the sky formed a perfect geometry that we call the Grand Water Trine, involving your own ruling planet Venus, positioned deep in the transformative waters of Scorpio, along with Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Pisces. And while the peak was yesterday, the actual mechanism of delivery begins today on the 27th, as Saturn prepares to station direct. You have been patient, Taurus, and I know your patience is legendary, but I also know that deep down, you have been tired of waiting and wondering when the scales would finally balance in your favor. So I want you to take a deep breath right now and ground yourself in this truth. Before we go any further into the mystery of these stars, I want you to claim this energy, because the universe responds to a declared intent. So please pause for a moment and go down to the comments and write this affirmation, so the cosmos knows you are ready. Simply write, I am now open to receiving the wealth and justice that has been accumulating for me. Now that we have set that intention, let us look at what is happening in the sky specifically for you. Over these critical 48 hours of the 27th and 28th of November, because the universe is not just throwing blessings at random, it is executing a very precise accounting maneuver that involves your past, your relationships, and your deepest resources. Your ruler Venus is currently swimming through the intense and secretive waters of Scorpio, which for you activates your 7th house of partnerships and contracts, and open enemies and legal dealings. But because this is a water trine connecting to Saturn in your 11th house of hopes and dreams, and Jupiter in your 3rd house of communication, this is not about a simple paycheck from your job. This is about resources coming from others. We are talking about the kind of wealth that has been hidden or stuck in the pipeline of other people's decisions. Perhaps a settlement that was delayed, or an inheritance that was tied up in paperwork, or a debt that someone owed you but claimed they could not pay, or even an investment you made emotionally in a partnership years ago that you thought was a total loss, suddenly showing signs of a massive return. The key player today on the 27th is Saturn, and you must understand Saturn because he is the cosmic accountant and the lord of time and karma. And for the last several months, he has been retrograde in Pisces in your 11th house, which is why you may have felt like your long-term plans were stalled, or like your social circle was shrinking, or like the support you expected from groups or organizations just wasn't there. But today, on the 27th, Saturn stations direct, which means he is literally stopping in the sky to turn around and move forward. And when a planet as heavy and authoritative as Saturn stops, it creates a shockwave that reverberates through the entire zodiac. But for you, Taurus, this shockwave is hitting the sector of your life that governs your highest aspirations and the rewards from your career. Imagine a massive stone gate that has been rusted shut for months, and today, on the 27th, The cosmic gears are grinding and groaning, and that gate is beginning to crack open. And this is why you might feel a strange sensation in your body today, specifically a heaviness in your chest, or a pressure in your head that feels like an expansion rather than a pain. This is your energetic field widening to accommodate what is about to flow in, because you cannot put an ocean into a thimble, and the universe is trying to give you an ocean, so you must expand to hold it. The Grand Water Trine is creating a closed circuit of manifestation energy that is bypassing all the usual roadblocks. So where you used to hit a wall with bureaucracy, or where you used to get a no from people in authority, you are suddenly going to find that the water simply flows around the wall or finds a crack to seep through and reaches you anyway. Because Venus is involved, and she is your ruler, this is personal for you in a way. It is not for other signs. And since she is in Scorpio, she is demanding that you look at the truth of what you are owed, and she is not interested in politeness, or you pretending that you do not need the money, or the apology, or the recognition. Scorpio energy delves into the shadows and finds the gold that was buried in the mud. And for you, this means the payout is coming from a source you probably stopped watching, or from a person you thought had forgotten you, or from a situation you walked away from because it was too painful. On this day, the 27th, as Saturn stands still in the sky, you are being asked to stand still as well, and not to rush out and try to force things to happen, because the energy of a stationing planet is extremely potent, but it is potential energy, like a drawn bowstring right before the arrow flies. You might feel a sudden wave of nostalgia or memories flooding your mind about struggles you faced years ago, or people who were in your life during a difficult time. And this is not random. These memories are popping up because the universe is reviewing the tapes of your life to calculate exactly how much interest has accrued on the sacrifices you made back then. Remember that Saturn is the Lord of Karma, and he keeps a ledger that is more accurate than any bank on earth. And he has seen every time you worked late without extra pay, and every time you lent money to a friend who never paid you back, and every time you swallowed your pride to keep the peace in a relationship. All of those moments were deposits in your cosmic bank account. And while Saturn was retrograde, he was auditing the books. But now that he is turning direct on the 27th, he is signing the check and handing it to Venus to deliver it to you. This delivery might not look like a suitcase of cash falling from the sky, though that is not impossible with this alignment, but it is more likely to come in the form of a communication or a realization or a sudden unblocking of a legal or financial stalemate. This brings us to the energy of the 28th of November, because as we move from the stillness of Saturn's station into the flow of the next day, we see Mercury playing a huge role. And Mercury is currently retrograde in Sagittarius, which falls in your 8th house of shared resources and debts and transformation. Usually people are terrified of Mercury retrograde, but in this specific configuration with the Grand Water Trine, Mercury retrograde acts like a detective who is going back into the archives to find money that belongs to you. On the 28th, Mercury is moving closer to a conjunction with your ruler Venus, and this is the trigger for the news you have been waiting for. So pay very close attention to your email inbox and your voicemail, and even your old letters or documents, because the message is likely to come from the past or regarding a past matter. You might receive a notification about a refund you didn't know you were eligible for, or a tax adjustment in your favor, or an ex-partner might reach out to settle a score. or you might finally find the missing piece of paperwork that allows a sale or a deal to go through. Because this is happening in your 8th house and involving your ruler Venus in the 7th house, the theme is undeniable. It is about other people's resources becoming your resources, and it is about the balance of power shifting in your favor after a long period where you felt like you were at the mercy of others. I need to warn you about something though, Taurus, because with Venus in Scorpio, there is an intensity here that can be overwhelming, and you might feel an urge to be suspicious when the good news arrives, because you are so used to the other shoe dropping that you have forgotten how to just receive. When the offer comes, or when the money shows up, or when the apology is finally spoken, your instinct might be to dig for the catch, or to question the timing. But I am telling you as your Abuelo, that this is the time to simply open your hands and say thank you, because this is not a trick, it is a repayment. The universe operates on laws of physics and energy, and for every action there is a reaction, and for every outflow of energy there must be an inflow. And you have been in a cycle of outflow for a very long time, giving and sustaining and building and supporting. And now the tide is turning, and the water is rushing back towards the shore. On the 28th, specifically, you may notice that your intuition is screaming at you to check something, or to call someone, or to look in a specific place. And you must follow these hunches because they are the whispers of the water trine guiding you to your treasure. You are an earth sign, and you like things to be solid and tangible and verifiable, but this energy is fluid and emotional, and it requires you to trust your gut feelings more than your spreadsheet for just these 2 days. There is also a spiritual dimension to this that we cannot ignore, because Saturn is in Pisces, which is the most spiritual sign of the zodiac, and it is in your house of community and future vision. So this influx of resources is not just so you can buy more things. It is coming to you now because you are ready to step into a new role in your community or your circle. The universe funds the mission, not the ego, and you have been quietly preparing for a larger life, even if you didn't realize it. You have been maturing and learning lessons about value and self-worth that were necessary prerequisites for this level of abundance. If you had received this wealth or this vindication 2 years ago, you might have squandered it, or let someone take it from you, or felt guilty about having it. But now you know your worth in a way you didn't before, and that is why Saturn is finally opening the gates. The fatigue you might be feeling on the 27th and 28th is not a sickness. It is a rewiring of your nervous system, because holding more wealth and more power and more love requires a stronger container, and your body is literally upgrading its capacity to conduct this higher voltage energy. You might find yourself needing more sleep than usual, or craving heavy grounding foods, or wanting to be near nature. And you should honor these needs because your physical vessel is the instrument through which this manifestation will occur. Do not be surprised if people from your past suddenly reappear during these 48 hours, because Mercury Retrograde and the South Node are active, and they act like magnets for unfinished business. So if an old flame or a former boss or an estranged friend contacts you, do not react immediately with emotion, but rather observe the interaction from a place of detachment. Ask yourself, why have they returned now? And what debt are they here to pay? Or what lesson are they here to complete? Because in this astrological weather, nobody shows up by accident. Everyone is a messenger delivering a piece of the puzzle that completes your picture of abundance. The concept of the phoenix rising from the ashes is very strong with Venus in Scorpio, and for you, Taurus, This means a resurrection of a dream you thought was dead. So think back to a project or a goal you abandoned because you didn't have the funds or the support. The energy of the 27th and 28th is breathing new life into that dead dream, and you might find that the resources you needed back then and couldn't find are suddenly available now, without you even having to ask for them. This is the power of the Grand Water Trine. It dissolves the obstacles that seem solid, and it lubricates the friction that was stopping your progress, so things that used to be a struggle suddenly become easy and effortless. But you must be careful not to give away this energy as soon as you get it, because there is a tendency with Venus in Scorpio to want to merge immediately, or to use your resources to save someone else to prove your loyalty. But you must remember that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Let the abundance settle in your life first. Let it soak into your dry earth before you start trying to irrigate everyone else's garden, because this is your harvest, and you have earned it through seasons of drought and hard work. The 28th of November is also a day where the veil between the visible and invisible worlds is very thin for you. So pay attention to your dreams on the night of the 27th, leading into the 28th, because your subconscious mind is processing the download of this new reality. You might dream of finding money, or of unlocking rooms in a house you didn't know existed, or of water flowing clearly and freely, and these are all symbols from your soul, confirming that the blockage has been removed. I want you to also consider the role of Jupiter in Cancer in your third house during these 2 days, because Jupiter expands whatever it touches, and in the third house it expands your voice and your local environment and your mental framework. This means that part of the abundance coming to you is in the form of a new idea, or a new way of thinking about your situation that unlocks the door. Sometimes the payment the universe sends is a piece of information that is worth more than gold, like a tip about an opportunity, or a piece of advice that saves you from a mistake, or a creative idea that generates income for years to come. So do not just look for checks in the mail. Look for golden ideas dropping into your mind, and treat them with the same respect you would treat a pile of cash. The conversation between Venus and Saturn is a serious one, and since it is a harmonious trine, it suggests that a serious commitment is paying off. So if you have been loyal to a path or a person or a principle despite the difficulties, this is the moment where that loyalty is recognized and rewarded. It is a vindication of your character, Taurus, and that is worth more than anything, because you pride yourself on your stability and your reliability. And for a while, it may have felt like those qualities were being taken for granted. But the universe saw everything. Every time you stayed when you wanted to leave, and every time you told the truth when it would have been easier to lie, and every time you kept your promise, even when it cost you something, all of that was recorded in Saturn's ledger, and now the account is being settled. On the 27th, specifically, try to avoid engaging in conflicts or power struggles, because the energy is so intense that a small disagreement could blow up into a war, and you do not want to waste this precious manifestation energy on fighting battles that do not matter. Conserve your energy and focus it entirely on receiving and stabilizing and grounding the blessings that are incoming. As the moon moves through the zodiac during these 48 hours, it will trigger these planetary points, acting like the second hand on a clock, ticking down the moments until the event happens. So trust the timing even if it feels slow, because to the earth beneath your feet, everything happens exactly when it is supposed to. You are being asked to trust in the invisible support system that surrounds you, because just because you cannot see the roots of the tree does not mean they are not drinking deep from the water underground. This Grand Water Trine is that underground water, and you are the tree. And for a long time you have been surviving on surface rain, but now you are tapping into the deep aquifers of ancient abundance that never run dry. The 28th brings a sense of flow that will be noticeable. So if you have been pushing against a closed door, stop pushing and look to the side, because there is likely a window open that you missed. The rigid stubbornness that sometimes serves you well is not your friend. Right now, you need to be adaptable like water and let the current carry you to where you need to be, because the universe is trying to make it easy for you if you will only stop resisting the direction of the flow. There is a specific focus on other people's money, which acts as a resource for you. So do not be too proud to accept help or to apply for a grant or to ask for a loan or to negotiate a better rate, because the banks and institutions and partners are more likely to say yes to you now than at any other time this year. The energy favors bold requests made with confidence. So if you have been undervaluing yourself or your services, this is the time to raise your prices, or to ask for the raise, or to demand what you are worth, because Venus in Scorpio knows the true value of things, and she will not settle for less. And as Saturn stations direct, he solidifies these gains, so this is not a temporary stroke of luck that will vanish next week. This is a structural change in your life that builds a new foundation for the next 30 years. You are laying the first bricks of a new empire of stability, and it starts with this influx of energy on the 27th and 28th.